Hey guys, so you have probably picked up everything that you should have gotten already, and hopefully you haven't actually started working yet. The bell ringer is kind of a long one, so that's not going to be done at the beginning. Actually, what I'd like you to do is go ahead and find that sheet of paper that's titled Second 6 Weeks Binder Check, and let's talk through that real quick. So I'm going to give you a minute or two to do so. So just so you know, the binders are going to be due on, for you guys, let's see, this is B-Day. So for you guys, that's going to be on Thursday is when your binders are due for your binder check. So just to make sure everyone's aware, you might want to write that down. So again, binder check is going to be on Thursday. Oops. Can't spell tonight, sorry. And that's going to be, let's see, 7, 8, 9. So 11, 9. And it's the same day as your 6 weeks test. All right, so let's go through. For the most part, you can read these off pretty easily. The notes section is pretty basic, so you must include all of the notes we've done this unit, starting with ethics, followed by history, then observations, then crime scene investigations, and then lastly, how to sketch a crime scene. So the crime scene investigation note packet was the really thick one, the one that took us like 2 days to get through. And how to sketch a crime scene is the stuff that you did last time, actually the last time I was absent. So you took those notes via video notes. Okay, for labs, we will technically have 2 labs in for this 6 weeks, but I will not be done grading the lab that you are going to do today. So that's why it's not a part of the binder. So the only lab you need to grab is your evidence observation lab, which should already be in your little section of the turn back out workbox. Okay, as far as quizzes and tests go, you should have 2 of them. So the history of forensics quiz, which was that little half a sheet quiz, and then your crime scene vocabulary test from the other day, and that's already there. And in the graded work section, you're actually only going to have one thing in that section, and that's going to be the tombstone rubric. You're not going to have the forensic timeline rubric because you partnered up for that assignment, but I only did 1 rubric for each group. So instead of making copies or anything like that, we're just going to turn in the 1 tombstone rubric. So again, in the graded work, you're only going to have the tombstone rubric. So please make that change on your sheet. Just put a line through it if you will. Okay, so that's that for the binder check. Can you go ahead and pull the topics for the 6 weeks test? Okay, so your 6 weeks test is also on Thursday. Whoops, sorry. Never going to get the hang of that, I swear. Okay, so again, 6 weeks test is going to be on Thursday. And it's going to be its usual format. So 2 parts. And part 1 is going to be multiple choice. And part 2 is going to be short answer questions. Okay, I don't really know how many yet because I'm not going to lie to you, haven't made the test yet. I'll be working on that when I'm done with this video. So let's go through the study guide. It should be fairly self-explanatory. There are going to be 3 topics tested on this 6 weeks test. That's going to be history, observations, and crime scene investigation. Just from the look of it, hopefully you can see that the bulk of the test is going to come from crime scene investigation. So on the history stuff, again, we're going back to those same dates and people and the major contributions. Remember, this is the stuff that you highlighted. So on the history, you're going to pay attention to the highlights. Okay, then under observations. So observations is a little weird to test. There's not a whole lot of actual details I can test. If you think back, our observation units was more practice and more application than it was, oh, here, learn these terms and learn these things based on your notes. So I'm only focusing on about 5 different slides here. The very first thing is going to be probably on that very first 1 or 2 slides that talk about actual information. So it's the 3 things that a forensic examiner must be able to do. You need to know how your brain reacts to things, so the fact that it fills in gaps in your perception and stuff like that. You need to know what affects observation, so things like, were you by yourself or were you with a group? Were you walking in an area that had a lot of activity or a lot of visual things to distract you versus an area that didn't have any of those things? So just kind of pay attention to all what is going to affect or your ability to make good observations. Then problems with eyewitness accounts, you need to pay attention to that slide. And then the slide that talks about the Innocence Project. So I need you to know what it is, the 2 people involved, probably like the year around it became a big deal, that kind of information. As far as crime scene investigation goes, again, I told you this is kind of the bread and butter of forensic science. If we don't have a good set of evidence, if our crime scene hasn't been processed in the proper way, following the right guidelines, then there's nothing that your analysts are going to be able to do for you. So really, everything that we talked about is going to be important, but make sure that you really pay particular attention to the topics that I've outlined. That's going to be your best bet. That and just really taking your time studying from tonight and pacing yourself and doing well on this exam. So as far as that goes, we've talked about binder check, we've talked about 6 weeks test. So that's that for those 2 sheets. You can go ahead and put those away and then go ahead and pull your lab. Okay, so you should have pulled the lab titled Individual versus Class Evidence Lab, and I'm just going to talk through where things are in the room. So the lab is already set up on lab stations 1 through 7. Every lab table from table 1 through table 5 is going to have 2 separate stations on them. Table 6 and table 7 will only have 1 station just because it's harder to maneuver between those 2 tables. Each set of evidence is labeled, so 1, 2, 3, and it follows in the pattern that your lab is currently written in. So your goal for this lab is to show me that you understand the difference between the term individual evidence and the term class evidence. Just a quick refresher, individual evidence means that it pinpoints to a specific thing or a specific person. So a specific piece of evidence, for example, a fingerprint, or a specific person, oh, it points to Mary. Whereas class evidence points to a group of things. You can't say, oh, out of these 8 shirts that I'm looking at, this thread came from shirt number 7. Okay, so it says that you could say that this thread came from a shirt similar to shirt number 7, but you don't know for a fact that it came from that shirt. So class evidence points to a group of individuals or a group of sets of evidence, whereas individual evidence points to an individual person or a specific piece of evidence. So you're going to go through and you're going to look at each station. Each station has things you can touch. Be careful when you get to station 2 because that one has glass, so just be careful of that. And then station, let me see if I can find it. I believe it's station 7 that has powders in 2 separate bags. The powders are perfectly safe. It's just baking soda, but don't open the baggies because the powder tends to go kind of everywhere. Those are the only 2 that have things that you need to be aware of or be extra careful of. All of the rest are perfectly safe for you to open and touch and line things up if you so choose. Please, please, please put things back in the baggies that you found them in and make sure that you put them back close to the number for that particular station. Don't move things back and forth between those lab tables. I'm begging you, please don't do that. And then once you are done with your lab, you are going to go ahead and turn it in. I estimate that it should take you anywhere between 30 to about 40 minutes to do. And that still leaves you plenty of time to do the other things that I have left for you. All right, so hopefully the instructions were fairly clear and you are good to go. And I will see you guys on Thursday. Don't forget your test is on Thursday and your binders are due on Thursday. Not taking those late this time. You have to have them to me on Thursday. All right, guys, have a great day. Bye-bye.